Hello, Joe. We're live. Went live, buddy. Welcome. Can you hear me? It was working fine.
No, can you guys hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Oh, wait. I can hear you a little bit. Hold on. I know what it is. All right,
Welcome.
we're in business, guys. Sorry about that. I had to run someone to the airport.
Oh, please. She couldn't take it anymore, huh?
Yeah, it looks like I'm. Oh, I didn't marry her though, so it won't be my third one. But I can use my line on her, the next one. You remind me of my third wife. How many wives have you had? 2. That's a TV line. Of course, I stole it.
That's a good line.
Sitcom. Yeah,
you could have claimed it. Nobody would have known.
Yeah, but you know me. I like to keep it real.
Keep it real, Joe. Hey, evidently the market was still surprised over 75.
I'm just getting a code here. Yeah, look, it was. I mean, I saw the big sell-off after the announcement, and then I was sorry, guys, I'm trying to dig up this code for the other.
You think everybody was like hoping for 50 or 25? I mean, what the fuck?
I think everybody, it's more in the language of what was said. I think everybody's just like, man, these guys are committed to just burning down 1 million jobs. I don't think that's necessarily 100% accurate. Of course, I'm talking and nobody can hear me, right?
No, we can hear you.
Oh, okay. I don't think that's entirely 100% accurate, but they definitely are trying to slow it. I think 75, I've switched to 50-50 at the end, 75-50, but earlier I was 60-40. I mean, I think it was the number everybody expected.
Yeah.
But, I mean, they got a tough, I was in a couple dialogues on Twitter and there's it's a tough road to hoe there. I mean, they got a lot of variables to consider. Kind of like how we always think about things like decentralization and regulation and try to, since it's not zero sum, try to figure out where that optimal configuration is. I mean, they got to do that across like 100 variables, I think.
Yeah.
So it's a very,
I don't
very
want that fucking job.
Yeah, it's a horribly stressful. I'm just surprised. I just don't know how these people deal with it.
What I live is Elizabeth Warren bitching and moaning without any solution. So,
well, I get like Kathy Woods and all the fund guys complaining, but yeah, that's a good point. XBT, they did kind of up the back end guidance, later year guidance, and I think that was. And her line is, I mean, look, these guys are getting hammered. So it's like, of course they don't want it. I tend to
Sean said, I just want everybody that's listening instead of watching later to know the 75 were priced in, but the 100 to 125 by the end of the year was not. And he said the markets are playing chicken with the Fed.
Yeah, I think everybody's trying to. What is the year-end number target? Is it 4.25 or 4.5? Something like that. I think that's staying consistent. I just feel like you can do more. I was just surprised with all the discussion around dollar appreciation, DXY, and just that differential on rates. Now, I don't know what Europe and the UK did on rates yesterday. I think UK did a 50 maybe. I don't know if EU did anything or if they were on that cycle, but that gap's got to close. If we're giving people 4.5% on risk-free money in the U.S. markets and Europe is given 2%, well, where's all the big risk-free money going to go? It's going to go out of euros and dollars for overnight and come back. So
yeah,
to me, that just, and plus all the other European issues, the war, the energy, everything else. I just thought that they were might think about slacking off to try to close that gap a little bit. But I also recognize that, that new money coming in to me helps cushion the landing of the stock market, as far as repricing all the assets to what their true value is based upon the risk-free rate of capital. So, I kind of just would like them to really tone it down a little bit, but at the same time, because everything you see I mean, there are people that say it's not transitory, but yeah, every single data source I see out there from, economists, firms that do economics,
right?
They're all pretty much consistent that you see it kind of going away in the next year to two, assuming no other giant macro or force majeure event happens. So I don't know if you got to slam the economy to a full stop at this point. Kathy Woods was talking about the 70s. I said to her, a lot of buddies of mine know Larry Summers. I'm going to see if I can get their take on it and kind of put together something, crowdsource some anonymous thing for us. But, they talk about Vietnam War and fiscal spending, but, it was really the petrodollar, the OPEC embargo of, was it 73 maybe, that really drove it off a cliff. And so when Volcker came in and slammed the door shut, he was tackling the stagflation issue, which I think hasn't reared its head. But there's all these other issues going on. Somebody I'm talking to is pointing out about, look, inflation is causing the salaries to go up, so everybody's eroding purchasing power, but then they're moving into a higher tax bracket at the same time.
Right.
Because of, but they're not making more real money. They're just giving up more in income tax or tax on it. So, which is something I hadn't thought about before. And, to me, I'm like, that's not good, because, at the same time, we want to slow spending, but, it seems kind of cruel is not exactly the right word, but it seems like we're basically taxing the people that can, or shutting down the spending or cutting off the capital to the people that have been spending a lot, that are the ones that can least afford to not have it. They're buying food and medicine and stuff that they, maybe some lottery tickets and, some six packs and things like that. But for the most part, it's medicine and food and kids. Okay. And those are tough choices to make. I don't envy them.
No.
I want everybody to have jobs and have money and have free will and have independence. And, I think it's, universal basic income you always talk about, it just seems kind of like rough to kind of always be going after the people that have the least.
Yeah. Kathy Woods saying, she's pissed that they're using lagging indicators, analogies, and that everybody just kind of jumped on board with it at the Fed. So, you read the comments on this post, dude. I mean, the amount of just misogyny in here, the amount of people that just hate her. Look, I don't really get it. I mean, she trumpeted her bet. She's tech, and she's believes in their long-term plays, and she's been getting hammered. I get it. But, and everybody wants to, Wall Street, you're taking somebody else's money no matter what. But it just seems like there's I don't know. It just seems like it's a rough spot to be in, Yeah.
And then you're getting your portfolio creamed when, they raise rates too, which feeds more people criticizing. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
She's smart. I've met her once. And, she knows her stuff, and she runs a clean shop, and she's got great young people in there working in different focus areas. And they have a thing. Somebody that knows her she said I could come over anytime. But on Friday, just haven't been in New York for this, but on Friday, they evidently have these kind of, I don't know what you would call it, open house kind of. In my day, I would call it a happy hour, but I don't think they're serving drinks. But people can just come in and talk to their staff and talk to their analyst and talk about ideas. So she's really out there at the grassroots level, but then backing it up, with the big bets. So
sure.
I think her strategy is good long term.
Niblett said, given how much more expensive real estate is now versus the 80s, 75 points on a mortgage will add hundreds to rents. And so raising rate to fight inflation also causes inflation.
Yeah. I mean, no, again, I think we talked about this yesterday a little bit, Niblets, on the adjustable rate mortgages versus fixed price. And I think the latest data I saw was at 7% of existing mortgages or so are, now in that adjustable rate area. But in 2008, I think it was 30%. And I think you shared that in Canada, that's about, did you say 17% is adjustable rate mortgage? So that's going to have an impact. Absolutely. But, it's not, how do I say it? It's bad if you're the one getting impacted, but it's not going to be that big aggregate situation like 2008 at this point. All of a sudden, nobody can pay.
I just had a call with one of my business partners that he's in the luxury housing market here in Miami. And of course, Miami isn't slowing down yet because a majority of the properties are being bought up by funds or foreigners bringing in cash deals. So the mortgage rates aren't really impacting a lot of the houses, especially the luxury, but also, I mean, people are just buying up properties here left and right. But he expects it to. He also said, though, that he's seeing a lot of decline in prices for supplies for the houses they're building across the board. So, you know, he's actually a little bit perplexed and pissed off because he thinks that the slowing of the slowing is happening in the at least in the materials he needs to build houses.
He sees it in the real world. The price.
He sees it happening, and then what he's concerned about is that as these rates climb, it's going to impact him, 3 months or 6 months from now with higher mortgage rates when the cash buyers aren't as prevalent. So anyway, it's interesting. Sean says, whatever about the long-term play for Kathy, she is burning value like there is no tomorrow. We'll look at an investment in the fund when the market bottoms if she is still alive.
Yeah, that's accurate. I mean, I would share that opinion.
All right.
That look, it's tech. She's way overweighted in focuses a lot on big tech. I don't want to say overweighted. That's not fair. And so when tech gets corrected, she gets crushed.
Yeah.
But, when it hits the bottom, like you said, Sean, that is the time to get in.
Yeah.
So 30% in Canada. Wow.
Wow. Shit. That's Niblet said 30% variables and refis and new mortgages.
Yeah. Sorry, listeners. I just forget that not everybody's looking at the same stuff that I'm looking at.
Sean says moving to London for the winter. The property market is still hot. 15 to 20,000 per month for a 3-bedroom. Holy shit. Damn.
Yeah, I was talking to a couple of my buddies that worked over there for 12 years, 15 years, and you can't beat London real estate, man. If you get freehold property in there and you hold that shit, it's only going to go up. The one thing in London real estate, I don't know if a lot of people probably know this, but most of it is like still leases on the Queen's land, and it's or I guess the King's land now, and 99-year leases, and so they'll get the place and build a house, and those sell, and they sell like crazy. But, if you get freehold property, you're going to pay more, but then you don't have to really worry about that transition in 100 years. I mean, you're not going to worry about it, but, your grandkids will worry about it.
Yeah.
Pounds or dollars. Yeah, that's a good point. Was that pounds or dollars, Sean, for the London rent?
Got a new episode of Mission DeFi out this morning. Bryan Altman of a company called Ziggy, and they make products called Dow Exchange and Chainvine. And these are essentially community growth tools. So systems to manage rewards, tightly integrated with Discord, provides a new kind of interface to track leaderboards, etc. Referral capabilities to build referral programs and require in-contract actions. Right. So they have a client that's a lending platform. They integrated with them. And if you get a referral, the person has to not only participate in the platform, but stay in the platform for a certain amount of time. So it's a really captivating platform. But what was also interesting about this interview is Bryan came from Web 2. He has had multiple successful exits, and his last one, all of his startups were in the marketplace world. And his last one was bought by Thumbtack, a housing services marketplace. So he had a lot of really cool perspectives on what he sees in startup tech world versus what he sees in Web 2 and what he sees in Web 3. Fascinating discussion. And then at the end, he started interviewing me, which was interesting. So really great show, really good tools for DAOs to use to manage and grow. So encourage everybody to check it out. Mission DeFi episode number 73. It's up on the website at missiondefi.com/Ziggy. Ziggy's the name of the company. Products are called Dow Exchange and Chainvine. So Sean said Sterling. Niblet said Jesus.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the pound's what? Is that at parity to the US dollar yet?
I have no idea.
I'm halfway joking, but yeah, no, it's like 120, 110, something like that. I mean, I remember when the pound was like a lot higher.
Right. Anyway, take a look at the episode. World's largest ASIC producer, Bitmain, slashes Antminer Bitcoin mining rig prices. Sean, you going to jump in on these sales, buddy? $1,900, I think is what it said. Yeah, $1,900. Sounds like a deal. I don't know anything about miners. You, Joe?
No, I wish I did. I wish I did about 12 years ago.
Yeah. Right?
Yeah, man.
That would have been handy.
Seeing all that chatter on the internet and weaving through social or the internet now, it's kind of like, it was always in the back of my mind, but I was always like, what's the difference, And then I remember hearing like, don't we already have money on the internet? Credit cards and shit. But, that was as far as I kind of saw it. And then, I'd hear little stories about, some dude in Tallahassee with laptops getting homeless guys to like run the mining rigs for him in the park. And then he would share the BTC with them, and BTC was like $11 or something, and they could go buy coffee with it or buy food. I'm like, man, talk about a lot of pissed off homeless people, man, when they spent all that BTC.
That's some serious.
But I never did anything, man. Yeah, right. I just never did anything until 2017. So
this company called Headquarters just raised $5 million pre-seed round.
500 million pre-seed?
No, 5 million, not 500. 5 million pre-seed, which is still a large pre-seed round. Yeah. Pre-seeds used to be
those are like, 300 grand.
Yeah, I was gonna say $250,000.
Hire the lawyers, start the company, get everything running, and then build the MVP maybe, and then go out for the seed or the Series A. That's like a good head start there. I wonder how much they gave up. Does it have terms?
No terms. But look, I mean, this is going to be attractive to investors because it's targeting the treasuries of projects that have a shit ton of money, right? So it makes sense. It's a great kind of bear market play because it provides, wallet tracking, transaction tracking, payments, bulk payments, and has integrations with accounting systems and other stuff. It's a kind of a I think it's interesting if you're in that space and you need something to manage and automate. It's got some good tools for it, but I just found it really interesting that they had a $5 million pre-seed. So, look, it's more power to them.
Who's in the funding round?
Can
you just scroll down a tiny bit? I saw a bunch of co-brands here.
It's not here. This is their homepage.
What was that? All right.
Let me go to their Twitter handle because that's where I saw the 5 million. I'm sure they announced.
They only have 183 followers. Wow.
Crypto.com, Capital, Forge Ventures, Mass Mutual Ventures, and then all of these folks. So,
Draper.
Oh, Alex, my buddy Alex over at Nansen. That's cool.
Yeah, no, look, that's a good.
I would follow Invest on Alex because he's got all the data.
Well, look, this is a deal that makes sense. It really does. And it's a deal that people that aren't crypto people get. But they got the money. Now they got to execute. So, do we have management team? Are they doxed?
Let's see what the about looks like over here. Our team.
Let's see what they got.
Yep. Sharon, Paul,
Sharon, and they're all linked in. Yeah, see this. I like seeing this. Yeah. And look, you got your nice kind of some. Looks like some Vietnamese. Yeah. A lot of Vietnamese, and that's where are these guys based? Are they Singapore or are they Saigon? I saw like a company called Saigon. I was thinking of Saigon in their investment round. Maybe they're like angels.
Don't know.
Yeah, that's good. This is going to go. So, I mean, look, they got all the ingredients right at this point. If they
it's a good timing, good space. Makes sense. Makes sense. Here's the CEO.
What about Alex Teo? Do you go back one second? I'm sorry. Here's the CEO. Yeah. I was curious what other products Alex Teo had built.
She's been an angel investor for 5 years prior.
So she must have made money at FAS.
Let's see. Financial,
Straits X, Singapore.
Singapore FinTech Association.
That's where they are. Okay.
Yep. All right. Good.
Yeah.
For her.
Look, this is these startups. I haven't been in Singapore for a long time, but I was down there where they had built a biotech innovation hub. 20 years ago, and the whole culture is about continuous innovation. I mean, they're like Porter disciples. If many people know who Porter is, but he was a strategy professor at Harvard for years. I think he's still alive. But he had a thing called Porter's Forces, which was like a, one less thing than the McKinsey matrix. But it basically gets you to look at all of, your, it's like a SWOT tool, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. And then it allows you to kind of choose optimal paths. So they always do this. So the fact that this is here in a supportive environment, they can pretty much do whatever they want. I don't know if you can you issue tokens in Singapore? Or is that
I have no idea.
I don't think there's some wrinkle there with that, but they can do everything else.
Right.
And, and they got 5 million. So, I keep track of these guys.
Definitely. Cool tool.
We should get them on the show.
I'll reach out and see what we can do. You had this one up yesterday, Joe.
Yeah, no, because look, I saw that Kathy Woods had bought like 400,000 more shares of NVIDIA. She has like 675,000. And then I saw, oh, wow. Actually, I found this first, Omniverse Cloud. And I'm like, so it's kind of like, metaverse in a box, for lack of a better word. Like we used to talk about DAO in a box. This is like a cloud hosted or service or thing. It's a service offering of both infrastructure and software, I guess.
Yeah. So use and design metaverse applications.
Yeah. So I thought it was kind of interesting, NVIDIA. And then I saw that Kathy Woods had bought 400. And so I kind of tweeted, it looks like she likes Omniverse. But it's just another example of, people building infrastructure for the less renegade members of the community, the less independent, where people will want to, take out all, the enterprises would want to take out all the kind of, I got to figure this shit out risk and go with somebody who has a, vanilla platform perhaps, but it gets them 80% of what they want in an easier risk-free way.
Right.
So that's why I kind of thought it was interesting. But, another thing, look, I mean, they're pitching to Fortune 500 type companies, the big companies around the world.
Yep.
To build metaverse applications. I mean, think about NFTs. Think about like this car you're looking at, you buy one of those, you get an NFT for the car. You have the car in the metaverse. The car's got to go do shit in the metaverse too, get oil changes or whatever, or get the battery swapped out or something, so, maybe people are playing in there and somehow the car in the real world is getting serviced too. I mean, there's so many weird things. Just that one example, of course, that's a kind of a hard one, but so, the corporate America and the banks and global players too are all looking at this. So, we do some metaverse stuff and, myself, I'm kind of always torn by it. Look, are we setting us up for some kind of matrix thing, or we're all laying in these beds playing in the metaverse all day? Or is it a seamless kind of interface between real world and metaverse or metaverses that scales both ways? And, I see stuff like this as kind of ways where maybe we get that, that we, that kind of adoption of it and commercialize it. Because again, we're talking tens of trillions of dollars in opportunity here.
Sure.
So it's ludicrous to think that the big players aren't all over this. So what we got to do is figure out where we want to be in these plays and then let those people come in and stampede us.
Yep.
And, make everybody who's rich, who's not, richer who is.
Let's do it.
So
Jesse Powell stepping down at Kraken.
Oh, the other Jay Powell.
Yeah, look, I mean, it's his company. He can run it however he wants. It sounds like he's a bit of a dick from everything I've ever read, but he's also a true believer, and he's built an incredibly successful company, and he's probably a bit burned out. I know he's tired of dealing with woke employees, as he talks about quite a bit. So maybe instead of firing them all, he just said, fuck it, I'm out. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't really see why people have such a problem with woke. I mean, sometimes it's, it's annoying to me sometimes because, they'll say something and I go, fuck, I've been doing that shit for 15 years. I better tone my act down here, but nothing bad. I'm not talking about, I get the woke stuff around racism and misogyny and the patriarchy and all of that, but it doesn't have to be everything. I don't feel like we have to, if somebody says something that maybe, I don't agree with, but I tend to usually agree with about 90% of what the aspirational message means. Implementation and that I don't always agree with, but why react? Just accept it, man. They're young.
Well,
We're
look,
old. What is this guy's deal?
Yeah, here's the bottom line. Look, the I don't want to go too far into this because we'll piss off half the listeners, but the bottom line is the woke complaining is a political strategy to stop the left side of the political spectrum from pointing out some of the things that happen on the right side of the political spectrum.
So you're saying it's a preemptive attack from the right to discredit the left?
Well, no, they're brilliant at this. I mean, they do this all the time. They discredited, critical race theory being taught in schools, which is not even being taught yet. This is what they do. And so what it is I'm conservative and I don't want to hear people talking about the shit I disagree with. And so we'll cancel them without saying cancel because we'll denigrate it as woke. Now, do I think that there are people on the left that are fucking annoying as shit and screwing shit up? Absolutely. And they drive me nuts and I rant about them all the time. And they're extreme and ridiculous. But do I have people, 75% of my friends are Democrats. Nobody in that group is judging or playing woke or doing any of those things. And they're all across the spectrum of left to center, right? So
in gender identity too, I'm sure, right?
Yeah. Look, I think what it comes down to is the younger generation is going to push this country left. So you need to get used to it and cope with it, or, like Jesse, retire and take your money and run. So it's all good.
Yeah, I guess to me, it's that, I see just because somebody points out the fact that something in our history was negative, it doesn't mean that you have to react to that. We just have to say, yeah, that was a shitty thing. Yeah. And how do we go forward from here? How do we fix it?
I don't use pronouns and I never will. And I think it's silly, but if somebody uses them, I don't give a shit. I could care less if they use them. I adapt at that point. Yeah. I don't judge them for using pronouns.
So well, like I was on a college tour and, there's a dude coming out in a yellow dress. And it was just it was obviously a provocative thing to see how us old guys were going to react. But I just looked and first I couldn't tell if it was a girl or a guy because, vision fades, luckily, when you're getting older. But then it was just a dude. So he came by, I was like, hey, what's up, man? Just kept going. Exactly. That's all you do. They just want to do what they want to do. And so who cares? Nobody's making us do that.
Yeah. And listen, I will never take away from the fact that Jesse Powell has been a leader in this space. He has adopted and moved, thousands and thousands of people into crypto. He built a great business. He's been incredibly successful, and he holds strong to his libertarian values, and I applaud him for that. So from my perspective, that whatever he decides to do, and if he wanted to stay at his company and fire everybody that annoyed him, I got no problem with that. It's his company. Do whatever the fuck you want, man. That's the beauty of capitalism. It's yours. Yeah. You can do whatever you want. And I have no idea why he's stepping down. I would assume after how many years he's been in this, he's probably just burned out and sick of dealing with it.
Yeah, I would think he is at this point.
I know. And they've got regulatory pressure. They got fined year before last, I think. And I'm sure that's creeping up on him. And, I can't blame the guy for stepping down. So
walk away, cash out, move on to the next project.
Hey, we had a longtime listener bring something up, and we're not going to talk about it today, but I think it's a great idea. And his question, he said, hey, longtime listener of DeFi Lunch, have you and Joe recently discussed your thoughts on blockchains with easiest onboarding for new users? He said, for retail and also for potential non-commercial uses of the blockchain, maybe something like notary services. Mm-hmm. And we have talked about things like Brew Money that has an easy to use wallet that allows you to immediately get into Aave, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But we haven't talked about, I really like this angle. I don't think a lot of people are doing this, but I do think there's a lot of potential, right? That these applications, we talk about all the time, like titles for real estate. That's a big, complicated, bureaucratic mess. But something like a notary service is actually a nice little nutshell thing. But the problem is always going to be, if it's a legality related thing, is that you're going to have to still make it acceptable to the government that says this is legit, or the court that says it's legit. But I love the idea of non-financial applications that get people into the blockchain without them having to deal with it.
Yeah, one of my clients in .com days was EasyGov.com, and their competitor was government, G to C, we called it. Government. I was there at the beginning. They raised some money from Paul O'Neill or not Paul O'Neill, but Paul Allen. And the number 2 guy at Citibank, Weil, I think his name was. He was he was 1 at that point. But, tons of money. And then they pulled down like 270 from IBM and another 200 from E&Y. Well, they were the ones that did all the pay the ticket online stuff, go renew your driver's license, all those, not renew driver's license, but other things, pay your taxes online.
Government bureaucratic shit online.
Yeah. So when they went to go out, what you find out in something like this, and I'm suspecting it's the same for notary, is that there are so many different laws at the state, county, and local level around, say, something like notary services, I suspect. And usually a lot of these groups in these states have been anointed as that notary person for Atlanta. And it's written in the friggin' state constitution somewhere back 40 years. They get this stuff, like I saw it with alcohol.
That was like the motor vehicle inspections in Jersey.
All that stuff.
Yeah.
So, you can't, it's very hard to scale because you got to have teams in every jurisdiction and you got to change the law in every jurisdiction. And you're always dealing with an incumbent that's been getting fat and rich for like 40 years doing nothing in that space. And that's who gives to the political party and does all this stuff. And they're the ones you're disintermediating.
By the way, the listener that sent this is Multiversal on Twitter. It's MULTIVRSAL. So
yeah, I'll go follow him. But it's a tricky one. But I thought what I saw on this, I wasn't thinking so much about the idea. I like the idea though. Don't get me wrong. I like that because people forge notaries all the time. So wouldn't it be great if there was a central place where you could then verify that it's actually notarized and real? It'd be cool. But look, when he talked about easiest onboarding for new users, that's what I thought you were going to jump on because it just feeds into your whole UI UX thing that we always talk about, usability. And, and he's hitting on that. Like, how does someone get in and just punch a couple buttons, stick a credit card in or something, punch a couple buttons, and boom, they're on chain doing something.
Yep.
That's where we need to get. Whoever comes up with something like that, I think is going to be pretty successful.
Well, I would tell you, and I have a partnership with these guys, so I have a vested interest. But this Brew Money application.
There we go. So I'm plugging Brad's thing again. All right.
Yeah, exactly. No, you don't have to say a word. Just sit back and enjoy it.
Thank you, sir. May I have another?
This application is dead friggin' simple. It's non-custodial wallet. You connect to your bank account, you deposit your money, you click a button, and you're in Aave. Like boom, 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 you're done. This is the kinds of things I want to see more of, right?
Well, look at the tagline: earn 10%.
Yeah.
You throw that shit around in social or emails or phone campaigns or whatever you're doing, print, advertising, everything. Anybody who's looking at that is, of course, going to look at that and be like, 10%.
Yeah.
And then they usually go, oh, crypto, or, oh my God, how do I do this? And what is Coinbase? And then all of a sudden, okay, here's your next, it's lunchtime and it's over. They got to come in and be converted instantly. Yeah, I took that down just because I thought it was worthy of just discussing.
Yeah, I want to discuss it. Wait, what did I do with the fucking Multiversal's message? God damn it.
I don't know, bro.
God damn
I'm going to go find him on Twitter real quick.
Yeah, go find him on Twitter. Give that man a follow. I don't think I did yet.
Multiversal.
Well, whatever. Anyway, I think the point is really valid that there are simple I used to call them single serving applications. If you ever saw Fight Club.
I love Fight Club.
Yeah. So I used to call these simple applications that do one thing and do it beautifully and well, single serving applications. And I think that there is an opportunity in this space to do single serving applications. Are there interactions you have with other people, some deal you make with them that's not requiring legal, bureaucratic or government authorization that you want to put and seed into the blockchain and prove that it happened, right? Is there like an informal notary service? Is there something else that could potentially be used to get people onto the chain easily with an easy interface, make use of it, and then, provision them into other things? I don't know, but this Sean was back on our discussion about woke, et cetera, et cetera. He said, perhaps when people can differentiate between hate speech and being offended, it will be a better world. No one has the right to live unoffended by the speech of others. Totally agree. Totally agree. Look, I say this all the time to my kids. It's not your job to make people like you.
Yeah, you're not responsible for anybody's happiness. Two important things.
Yeah. Yep. And if you spend your time getting offended by shit that people tweet or say about you or whatever, you're wasting your time and you're giving them power over you. Right. And that's exactly what the extreme woke shit is. Right. It's this constant freak out when somebody says something mean. It's different when somebody uses hate speech, and there's a differentiation there that needs to happen. People just being mean, don't give them fucking attention. And by the way, every time I try to say this to people all the time, whatever topic, somebody gets their feelings hurt about something that somebody says about them on Twitter. Well, what do they fucking do? They reply to it, or worse, they retweet it. Well, what does that do? That says to the algorithm, oh, this is important.
You like it.
I like this. So I'm going to boost it in the fucking algo so more people see it. Don't be an idiot. Our whole world works on these algos. When you give shit attention, you're making sure more people see it. If you don't like something that's said, don't give it fucking oxygen. So
it's a good point. And also, I think this is one that you and I and some of our listeners understand better from the pre-social world or the pre-smartphone world, is that, this is, freedom of speech. You could say whatever you want.
Yeah.
But, in the olden days, you had the risk getting punched in the face if you said something wrong or you said something insulting. Yeah, thanks. Yeah. I didn't have a spelling right. But here in this safe world, hiding behind devices, all these keyboard warriors feel like they can say anything and insult people and try to get reactions.
True.
And they secretly get excited about it and they're all giddy. And I'm just like, what a friggin' waste of time. So it's free speech, but there's consequences. You can't the amount of times we got in fights as kids because somebody would trigger you by saying something about your mom. And then next thing you know, you're on top of them, beating the shit out of them. That kind of stuff went on. I wish there was more of that today, to be honest, because, some of this stuff is just ridiculous. Yeah. And you have to control your emotions and control what you say. I call it self-policing. It's a very hard thing to do. You got to practice for years. Then eventually you're old and it doesn't really matter anymore. But when you're young, that's where you make the mistakes. Trigger tempers. Try to, there was that thing when I'd read in books when I was a kid, like the Tom Sawyer or something like that. And it would be like, when I think the example in that book was, some house servant, he knocks on the door and she throws a bucket of dirty water on him, doesn't know he's there. And instead of like tearing her up, he counts to 10. And by that point, the owner of the house has come and is like, oh my God, are you okay? And, says, come on in and gets him cleaned up and food. And he has a friend then. But it was because he didn't go, what the fuck, asshole? He was like, oh, okay, how do I react? And this happens all the time in life. Yep. And you just gotta absorb it. And
the flip to this is the people that are pissed off about the woke shit are doing the exact same thing that the woke people are doing. Yeah. Because you're offended by the response of people that are offended by you being offensive. And it's like, just everybody shut the fuck up.
Everybody seems to take out, like I'm watching it with the inflation stuff. Same thing. You got all the people that are just bitching. It's not transitory. It's not transitory. It's forever. And so we know that's not true. Then the other people are going, it's transitory. And then it's just this like, it's a little of both, man. Come on. Yeah. I mean, how hard is it to figure out?
Sean said, by the way, check out Peach Bitcoin for simple on and off boarding without all the regulatory BS. And this is fascinating. So this is peer-to-peer Bitcoin sales. Like it's the old school
local Bitcoins, right?
Local Bitcoin shit, right? Now, hopefully they're not based in the US because they'll all be getting fined and going to jail. But otherwise, this is really cool.
Yeah, I don't think so, Peach.
That's a money transmitter license needed. But, you know, very cool. Very, very cool. I like it.
Yeah, where do these guys? Well, what Peach? Let me look it up myself. Of course, I'm moving my cursor around on your screen to make shit happen.
Europe. Yeah. It says Europe on their Twitter profile.
Okay, good.
Yeah,
Pete.
That's cool. Oh, this just launched, and it's European only. They're smart.
Oh, it looks like
nice.
Peach app. Buy in peachbitcoin.com. Swipe, match, stack, mobile. You know, see, look, almost when you're pretty much using mobile, I almost feel like it's KYC. I mean, we talk about VPNs and things, and yeah, sure, people can use burners with Telegram, stuff like that. But, you know, 99% of the people, you know, are effectively sort of legit, are effectively kind of, you know, KYCing by using their phone. Because you can, if you can go to the airport and not have to show an ID anymore, but show your phone. I mean, what does that tell you guys? I mean,
yeah.
It's like,
yeah,
and you know, it's like that is a proof of identity now,
right?
That is being recognized as extremely secure. So,
yeah,
you know, I think this could work in the U.S. too. You know,
all right.
That's, I mean, in the future, I mean, with the way Bitcoin is perceived by the regulators as it's not a security, you know, that's totally locked in. Money transmitter, I mean, wouldn't there be another category of money transmitter license that maybe just covered plays?
Well, they'll
like
have to do that, but they haven't. Right now, I mean, that case of that guy that I told you guys about a few weeks ago that was going to prison for a few months was selling Bitcoin. Right. So in the US,
wasn't he dragged in? I think I saw something on him mentioned.
Yeah, we talked about it. He was dragged in because of
as an intermediary, though, right? He was selling for someone else. I think that's what got him in trouble.
No, he got in trouble because somebody else on the same group was doing something illegal, and they snagged everybody, and he had to fight it. But then they were like, "Fuck it, we already got you. Let's nail you for something." Sean says, "Use an ex-wife's phone, dude."
I am with you on that, buddy. I'm with you.
Eamon says the inflation is transitory to a degree, as in the rate of increase, but the new price won't go back. But the new price won't go back down. There are just new higher baselines, even if it slows down how quickly costs are going up. Price is likely up only, although the speed of up only maybe goes back to a lower rate of upness. I like that upness.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I mean, up only isn't bad, okay?
Right.
As long as we keep up with, you know, obviously it can get out of control. We know that.
Yeah.
But, you know, you want a little bit of inflation. I kind of think 2% is a little low myself for this type of economy, or this type of global economy. But, you know, don't forget what this does to other things like debt.
Yeah.
You know, remember, you've got if you're in dollars, you got 16% dollar appreciation this year. So every $100 is now spending like it's 116. So you got that going on. And then you've got the fact of, like, let's say you borrow it, then you got the inflation data on, let's say 8.3%. So 8.3, 24.3. By my calculations, it seems to me that if you borrowed $1 trillion from the Chinese a few years ago, and you haven't paid anything back, just for math purposes, you're paying back now something like 750 billion between both DXY appreciation and inflation.
Wow.
So nobody's talking a lot about that, but, you know, that's an interesting thing. Now, of course, the other corollary is that, you know, debt, if the debt isn't fixed, then of course it adjusts up. But I think the U.S. from what I heard a few years back, the U.S. refinanced almost all its debt into, like, you know, zero rated instruments or negative or half. It's not, and a lot of it's fixed. So back when they could, when everything was cheap. So I don't know what the effect is there. Normally, that would be something to really think about, because I remember, if interest rates go up, I was seeing calculations maybe 20 years ago, but I mean, that accelerates pretty quickly. And so that comes out of the US government budget, but I don't think it's as big now. But with all of that, when we're talking big, looking at it as like a big economy and how do you make it work, we have to really keep firmly in track that, it is going to cost 1 million people their jobs, probably.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what happens there? How much does that cost? Can they get unemployment? There's no stimmy checks coming.
No, they'll only be able to do the temporary unemployment. Well, that's here in the US. I don't know elsewhere what it's going to impact everybody.
So and the kids and disrupts families. So to me, that is there, what is the multiplier on that?
Right.
Just as I talk about a bank dollar being lent out 11 times or 14 times, when you take out that wage earner, that on the edge family, let's say, what does it do to the kids and their future earning power?
Oh yeah, it fucks
their whole
everything
lives.
Up.
So
yeah, it's a cascading event.
Yeah, so we have to always be aware of that and keep creating these grassroots opportunities in new tech. So people can eventually find the one that gets them to where they're trying to get.
So last week, Infura woke up and said, you know what? It's important to move to decentralized infrastructure for DeFi. So today, Coinbase said, cool, we're going to centralize the hell out of Ethereum's infrastructure with a free offering. So Coinbase Cloud launches platform for Web3 developers, completely centralized and free. So
what's the uptake on it? Are people going?
Who knows? I hope not. I hope nobody goes.
I mean, I see this as going to be,
but free infrastructure is kind of hard to argue with.
Yeah, but what about look, you think of something like that, and we were talking about Omniverse, the NVIDIA play for the metaverse, about infrastructure and software, I believe. It seems like everybody's going this way.
Yeah, but this
but who do you trust more?
Right. Well, look, I mean, at the end of the day, what we should be doing is working to make sure every piece of infrastructure is decentralized.
Right, I agree.
The problem is that when companies like Coinbase come out and launch these free offerings, new devs in the space are going to be like, well, wait, I can get up and running. I can trust Coinbase and it's free. What the fuck? Let me go. Right. And that's the problem with it for me. And I think it's a play for Coinbase trying to, control some of the infrastructure.
Absolutely. I mean, to me, look, we talk about this a lot, but I always feel like that there's going to be like kind of and I'm not like casting aspersions, but kind of the boring stuff, which is like the Coinbases and the Algorands and, those types of things that, are institutional plays, but they're not sexy. They don't have something new to them. They're just kind of mimics and, slow and dull and don't really get anywhere. But it's the de facto, the easy choice for people that know nothing. The same
exactly
that runs around doing stupid shit all the time. Coinbase, yeah, that's that Bitcoin stuff. I mean, that's just all what they say. But so developers that go there to do their projects, all the investors are going to look at your projects as being not cutting edge. I'm sorry, because you're coming out of a safety sandbox. You're not coming out of an innovation. Like Y Combinator. I mean, I'm just using them because it's the easiest one. There's a million like that where you get the really cool, innovative stuff coming. These guys are going to be the guys saying no. You can't do that. So, get some money from them if you're going there, I guess is what I'm saying. But also think that you're going to be branded as kind of like what's the word I'm looking for?
I don't know.
Not decentralized, not true crypto, not, part of the ethos. I think that's your risk. So, I wish Binance US would do more of this.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be awesome.
CZ.
Hey.
Can you do something, man?
What a shock. JP Morgan's back. I guess it's a monthly thing now. 1 month it's great. The next month it sucks. This month, crypto's dangerous and a Ponzi scheme from Jamie.
Yeah,
Dimon.
I was surprised about that too.
Yeah. Simultaneously, I read another article today. The guy that runs his crypto operation said, we don't care about the bear market. We're growing and adding more. And it's like, well, wait a minute.
I think he's just pissy the last couple of days. I saw some testimony of his in front of Congresswoman or Congressperson Tlaib or whatever from Michigan. And she's like, we've got all the bank CEOs there. It was on Twitter. I just sort of disengaged because it was turning into the big, scrap fest politically. But she's like saying, all these climate change goals and, we want you, she said to Jamie Dimon, to commit to no more fossil fuel investments in anything and get all your partners to do that too. And he just says back to her, it's hysterical. He goes, well, that's just crazy. That would just send us all the fucking, not F word, but something like send us to hell. That would be hell for America. And he just trashes her. And I was just like, I'm like, wow. Yeah. Who pissed in his Wheaties? Because
in the same speech where he called it a Ponzi scheme, he urged House lawmakers not to burden banks with more regulations when they need to lend freely and access their capital.
Yeah, that was the thing I saw too. It's like, so what does that say to me? Shit, dude, we're balls deep in crypto right now. We don't want you telling us what to do with it. So
but he's also, I think it's the other way. I think what he's saying is, I don't want this fucking competitor taking my shit. I'm still going to make money on it, but don't fuck with me as a bank and regulate me more because these scary crypto guys are taking all my business. I don't know.
Well, what's funny is when you see Jamie Dimon and Kathy Wood on the same page as Senator Warren.
Right. It's crazy. That's nuts.
So, to me, I think everybody, it's gamesmanship posturing. We know JP Morgan is way deep in crypto, and we know the banks are way deep in fossil fuels. They always will be until they're into something else.
Yeah.
Money goes to where the returns are.
Niblett said Damon, after pulling up the ladder behind him, pissed to discover other ladders.
That's perfect.
John, speaking of woke, looks like the women in the UK are woke up about digital assets. They invest at a greater rate in digital assets than men in the United Kingdom, 53.4%.
And what's the men? Oh, men are 53.4?
No, women are 53.4%. Women are women are 53.4%. Men are whatever, 46.5%, whatever it is, 46.6%.
Using crypto?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I didn't see the number. That's why I was curious what it was. Wow.
Yeah.
That's surprising.
Yeah.
I like it because it's that way in Korea, probably even more, because a lot of the Asian, since I grew up around military bases, I grew up with a lot of Koreans, lots of Vietnamese, lots of Germans, blah, blah, blah. But the Korean wives clubs, they, my hairstyle or, barber lady person was Korean. And whenever somebody's going to open a new store or do a business, that wives club gets together and they put up the money. They don't go to the bank. They all put up the money. And
Sean's going to London to find him a whale wife.
Yeah. That's going to be taken a lot of different ways over here, buddy.
Exactly. Hey, Joe, I got to wrap it up, buddy. I got to 1 o'clock.
Oh shit, man. I didn't realize it was so late. But the point is, let me wrap up on that point. But in Korea itself, those Korean wives clubs are investment clubs, the way that we have them here with groups where they form little investment clubs. And they take a very strong view on the family budget and controlling it and all of that. So I didn't really think that was going on as much with the British women, but it looks like, they're kind of saying, I'm taking this shit over now. Go down to the pub and go drink your Guinness. I'm going to make sure everything's okay for us.
There you go. Listen, everybody, thank you so much for listening and watching and participating. Eamon, Niblett, Sean, Multiversal, Shizzy. Did I get everyversal?
What was his Twitter handle again? Spell it for me, Multiversal.
It's in the Discord. It's in the Telegram group. VRSAL, I think. Anyway, thank you so much for listening and watching. We appreciate you guys. If you could take 1 minute to head over to Apple Podcasts or Spotify and give us a quick review and subscribe. It really helps a lot. If you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe and hit the little bell so you don't miss out on any of the amazing episodes of the Joe and Brad Show. And we appreciate you. We appreciate you being here. And if you have any thoughts or feedback, please visit us at r/MissionDeFi, r/MissionDeFi on Reddit. We've got some discussions going on over there, and we'd love to have your thoughts and input on DeFi and on the show and what you'd like to see. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, everyone.
Now you did a quick one.